After 20 years of marriage, I learned the one truth that shattered everything I thought I knew. My wife had been unfaithful. She expected tears, confrontation, maybe even a desperate attempt to win her back. But I gave her none of that. No confrontation, no explanation, just complete and utter disappearance. Quietly and without warning, I slipped out of her life, leaving behind only the echo of silence. While she scrambled to locate me, to regain control, I methodically rebuilt myself, wealthier, stronger, and finally, free. We had spent 2 decades together. 20 years of shared moments, birthdays, lazy Sunday mornings, dinner routines, late-night whispers about the future. I believed those memories were the foundation of a stable, committed relationship. Her name was Clara. To outsiders, she was the embodiment of charm, well-spoken, composed, admired in every social gathering. And to me, she was everything. Or so I thought. It was an ordinary night, or at least it seemed to be. She lay beside me, asleep and breathing softly. I got up to use the bathroom and noticed her phone glowing faintly in the darkness, buzzing on the nightstand. Normally, I wouldn't have given it a second glance. Trust had always been a given. But something felt off, like the universe was nudging me, telling me to pay attention. I glanced at the screen. A single message preview appeared. Asterisk, can't wait for our next weekend. You're the only one who makes me feel alive. Asterisk. Everything inside me stilled. No panic. No anger. Just a deep, hollow calm. I scrolled through the messages. There were months of conversations, intimate photos, pet names, hotel bookings under aliases, even business trips that aligned perfectly with the vacations I'd cancelled for her. Meanwhile, I'd been the one taking care of her elderly mother, handling our home renovations, and helping her launch the boutique she'd always talked about. I didn't wake her. I didn't demand answers. I didn't even keep records on my phone. I simply placed it back, quietly, and made a promise in that moment. She wouldn't see what was coming. The next morning, I behaved as if nothing had changed. I brewed her favorite coffee, hazelnut cream, 2 sugars. I kissed her on the forehead. I asked about the meeting she had lied about. She smiled and responded. It was exhausting. I smiled back and told her she deserved to relax. That was the last morning she truly saw me. Over the following weeks, I began unraveling the life we had built, strategically, in complete silence. The first step was financial independence. I began moving money from our shared accounts into a private one, an account I'd opened years earlier after selling shares in a tech venture she never bothered to ask about. Just that move alone gave me over $1 million in liquid assets. Next, I sought legal counsel. I met with a top-tier attorney and handed over everything I had compiled. I didn't rely on digital records. I had printed logs, call histories, audio recordings, and even footage from our home security system. After reviewing the documents, my lawyer looked up at me and said, "She won't see it coming. You'll walk away with everything." Exactly what I was aiming for. Then came the exit plan. We had a lake house, a quiet place 3 hours away, fully in my name. I rerouted all my important mail there, finalized my resignation at work with a letter I'd prepared weeks prior, and sold off a few rare collectibles we'd locked away and never discussed. I waited for the right moment. On a Friday morning, she left for what she told me was a weekend retreat with friends. I knew better. It was another rendezvous. Once she was gone, I packed everything that mattered: important documents, my passport, clothes, a few photographs that still held value to me. I cleaned the house meticulously. Then I left. No note, no goodbye, just an empty space where I used to be. 3 days later, she returned to silence. The locks had been changed. My phone was disconnected. Our friends said nothing to her. In her email, she found one message, from a secure address she couldn't trace. Asterisk, you once called me dull, predictable, easy to control. You mistook loyalty for weakness. Enjoy the silence. You've earned it. Asterisk. Attached were the divorce papers and a complete set of the evidence. Her first reaction wasn't grief, it was fury. She lashed out, tried to rally support, demanded answers. But every door she knocked on was closed. People whispered behind her back, but no one stood beside her. I had already told my story, calmly, discreetly, and with proof. And I never had to say another word. The couples we used to vacation with, the same ones she often confided in about our marriage struggles, eventually stopped responding to her calls and messages. Not out of malice or gossip, but because I had already spoken with them. I wasn't angry, and I wasn't trying to get revenge. I simply told them the truth. Each person received a hand-delivered envelope, marked with my initials. Inside was a short letter, clear, direct, and backed by facts. Along with it was a flash drive containing all the evidence. There was no dramatization, no name-calling. Just the reality of what had happened. So when Clara finally tried to reconnect with them, she was met with cold courtesy and restrained responses. One of them even messaged her, "You made your decisions, Clara. He just showed us what was real." Not long after, the man she had left me for disappeared. Derek, the smooth-talking corporate consultant she thought she'd found her future with, had been stringing along several women. Clara believed she was the exception. But Derek knew better. He recognized that someone willing to betray a loyal husband of 2 decades wouldn't hesitate to turn on him if it suited her. He cut all contact, blocked her on every platform, transferred to another office, and when she tried confronting him at work, he filed a complaint for harassment. She ended up alone. Ashamed. And then came the financial reality. Clara had assumed she was entitled to half of everything we had. But she didn't realize that the estate I inherited from my parents, used to pay for the house, renovations, and even her yoga studio, had all been protected. I'd placed everything into a trust years ago. And the prenup she'd signed, long forgotten by her, sealed it. When it all went to court, the judge saw the full picture, her affair, the financial trail, the deceit. He ruled completely in my favor. Clara left with nothing but her car. The yoga studio was sold. The house, my house, was retained, and the lake property was already a peaceful retreat for me. She called my attorney after the ruling, crying. "This isn't fair," she said. My lawyer calmly replied, "He gave you exactly what you left him with." Clara had always been a whirlwind of noise. Her laughter dominated rooms. Her social feeds were a constant flood of polished brunch photos, yoga poses, and spiritual soundbites about living authentically and finding herself. But now, there was only quiet. She stopped posting. No more curated snapshots or invitations to retreats. The silence no longer came just from me, it followed her everywhere. It began gradually. Her yoga studio, once her proud escape, closed down. Word had spread about the affair, the mess behind the business, how it was all more about image than intention. She tried to salvage her brand, claimed victimhood online, started a crowdfunding campaign, spinning a tale of emotional manipulation and financial abuse. But the truth had already been seen, and old clients remembered her flakiness, her absences, her weekend retreats that were actually romantic getaways with Derek. Her narrative collapsed. The fundraiser went nowhere. She tried online classes, few showed up. Her once busy YouTube channel became a target for bitter truth. Comments piled up, "Do a tutorial on betrayal next. Your ex told the story better than you ever could." She took it all down. Deleted everything. Then, a year after I walked away, I sent her one final thing. A simple package. Inside, a single handwritten note. No gloating, no cruelty. Just one last message in ink. Clara always craved an audience. I just longed for calm. To her, silence meant surrender. But for me, it became a gift, a path to freedom, to clarity, and eventually, to a life that feels right. I wake up now not dreading the day, but grateful for it. I hope that when all the noise in her world finally fades, she'll find something genuine, not a man, not validation, but something that truly means something. I ended my message to her with a simple goodbye, Jay. No warmth. No affection. Because what I had to offer wasn't love anymore. It was finality. Closure. And for me, that moment was the real reckoning. Not the legal battles, the whispered judgments, or even the silence around what happened to Derek. That message was the release. 5 years have passed since I walked away. In all that time, I never once turned back. Not from anger, but because my future was finally ahead of me, waiting. My mornings are now quiet in the best way. No biting remarks with breakfast, No cold stares across the dinner table. Just sunlight, coffee, and stillness. I built a small cabin just beyond the city. Modest, but it's mine. Every board, every nail, placed by my own hands. There's a greenhouse in the back, a fire that brings warmth rather than tension, and shelves lined with books I never had time to read before. And then there's Anna. Not Clara. Anna is different, grounded, calm, sincere. We met volunteering at an animal shelter. She doesn't talk just to fill the silence. She listens. She sees. What we have isn't dramatic or explosive, it's patient. Built on steady steps and mutual trust. She doesn't know the full story of what Clara did, and I don't think she needs to. Because what matters now isn't the storm I left behind, but the person I've become since. Occasionally, someone from that past life gets in touch. Heard what happened with Clara, they say, shaking their heads. You really dodged one. They say it like I escaped something terrible. And maybe I did. But I don't feel lucky. I feel transformed. I didn't just avoid damage. I walked through the wreckage and came out whole. Last I heard, Clara moved to a quieter place. She's trying to rebuild, trying to date again. But it's hard when the truth has already spoken louder than any lie. She's quiet now, but not the way I am. Not peacefully, just no longer noticed. So if you're reading this and you've been betrayed, discarded, or made to feel invisible by someone you gave your heart to, let me tell you this. Revenge doesn't always come with flames and fury. Sometimes, it looks like a peaceful morning in a home you built yourself. Sometimes the loudest "I told you so" is the life you live without ever having to say a word. If you've chosen peace over chaos, you already know. The quietest farewells often leave the deepest echoes.